Hello there, lovely. Good morning, and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show, where we urge you to rise and thrive this morning. It is Tuesday, the 9th of April, in the year 2024. My name is Joe Smata. Stay tuned as we are going to make sure that we bring you nothing but the best in current affairs this particular morning, as we are going to look at the zooming headlines. But for now, your health is your wealth. Let's go straight into the health corner.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about another exciting topic, and this month being Women's Month, we are going to focus more on conditions that affect women. So we'll be talking more about diseases that affect women. And so this week we are going to talk about a condition that is very common among women, and it's a very common condition in our country here. So we're going to talk about cervical cancer. So cervical cancer is cancer of the cervix. And so this week we're going to talk about what is cervical cancer, the signs and symptoms of cervical cancer, and how does this cervical cancer come about. And we'll also talk about how you can prevent cervical cancer as an individual. What can you do to prevent yourself from getting cervical cancer? So today we'll talk about what is cervical cancer. Before we talk about cervical cancer, let us talk about the cervix. The cervix is an organ that is found in a female body, and it's an organ which is found between the uterus and the vagina. So it separates the uterus from the vagina, and it has got different functions. One of the functions is that it helps to prevent infections from entering the uterus, and it also protects the vagina by keeping it moist and producing certain fluids that keep the vagina moist and also prevent infections in the vagina. Then it also helps to act as a barrier when you are pregnant or when you're carrying a baby in the uterus. It helps to keep the baby in the uterus, and so it helps to act as a barrier. So now, what is cervical cancer? So cervical cancer is a cancer that affects the cervix, and we have already mentioned where the cervix is found and what it does. And so when there is cervical cancer, there is a growth that is occurring in the cervix, and this growth usually comes about by so many factors. Usually it is caused by a virus that we call human papilloma virus. So this virus will usually affect the cervix, and it will cause abnormal growth in the cervix. And because of this abnormal growth, we definitely will call it a cancer, because it will have abnormal features. And so that is what cervical cancer is. If you would like to know more about how cervical cancer comes about, then make sure that you watch again tomorrow, when we'll be talking about some of the causes of cervical cancer. If you haven't watched the other videos last week and in the previous weeks, make sure that you also watch the videos on my YouTube channel at Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya Siameka on YouTube. And so thank you for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
thank you so much for still joining us. Now, that was our resident doctor there talking about cervical cancer. Hope you learned one or two things from there. Nelson is here and he takes us through the money markets. Nelson?
Yeah, and then let's get to look at the money market this morning in terms of looking at how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles on the international markets. There you have it on your screen. The United States dollar is buying at 24 kwacha 0.43 ngwe and selling at 24 kwacha 0.91 ngwe. The euro is buying at 26 kwacha 0.50 ngwe and selling at 27 kwacha 0.03 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 0.31 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 0.34 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 30.89 ngwe, 30 kwacha 0.89 ngwe, and they're selling at 31 kwacha 0.50 ngwe. And the update is exactly as 07808 this morning. And remember that these notes, they vary from one bank to bank, and major concern probably would be on the US dollar, for we've seen this fluctuation continue for some time now. We've seen that at times the dollar is at 23, 22, somewhere there, but within a short period of time you find that we're still hitting or somewhere hitting 25, 26. So it means that production really has to keep on being put in check, because a lot of factors do apply to these issues, and one would always ask those questions pertaining to the dollar relationship, as well as the business community out there, the cost of living, as well as maybe the cost of doing business, because most of these traders of ours definitely Joe will ask you this question, or will tell you this when you see that there's a difference in terms of maybe the changes that would have been made in terms of pricing. They'll tell you dollar and coin. So, meaning that this is,
of course,
a very major factor when it comes to business, because we're going to transact in kwacha, dollar, and everything. So it is a major currency, and
and the dollar is mostly widely used.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and the hope is that, just as per assurance that was given, you remember.
But I don't see that coming forth anytime soon.
Yeah, on the 23rd of should have been on the 23rd of December 2023. There was an end of year press briefing by the president.
Yeah, on my birthday. It was on my birthday.
On your birthday.
23rd, yes, of December. We can't forget that. However, yes, an assurance was made. But Nelson, look, there's the issue of load shedding. And just yesterday, ZESCO, the power utility company, the country's power utility company, released a new schedule. A new schedule that will ensure that load shedding is intensified. You get?
Yeah.
So now, how are you going to produce when people are being switched off? You get my point. And industrial areas have now been included for long hours of load shedding. So how are you going to produce? How are you going to maximize your production when people are being load shedded for longer hours?
I think that's a very critical question, if you ask me, and I'm glad or excited that tomorrow we're going to have the ZESCO team in the studio,
exactly,
just to help us understand. In terms of these issues, because I'm feeling for the ZESCO spokesperson, Mr. Matong, in terms of what's going on.
Yeah, he should have the answers. He should have the answers, and that is coming at the backdrop of having this particular administration. First of all, told the Zambian people that
everything settled out.
Yes, they will not have load shedding anytime soon. However, they can be excused for that because of obviously the drought
that has been induced by the El Nino and everything.
Yes, but these are some of the things that prudent managers should always look out for. You know what I mean, Nelson? You should always see that at that particular corner there might appear something. You should always know what's coming at that particular corner. The experts did advise that there's a possibility.
Much earlier, right?
Much earlier. There will be a possibility of Zambia experiencing a drought. However, politicians being politicians thought maybe experts are just saying whatever. And we are here, and the president did make an announcement of declaring a national disaster. Drought in some parts of the country, a national disaster, Nelson. And this is where we are now. But all these, Nelson, can be avoided if we heed to experts' advice if we take what the experts tell us seriously. You remember we once hosted Dr. Engineer Johnston Chwanda here, where he talked about a team of experts, engineers to be precise, in the energy sector, sat down, came up with a proposal to the PF of the late Michael Chimfiasata. That document was kept, still gathering dust. The PF of ECL came through. That document was kept, still gathering dust. And now we don't know whether the UPN are going to look at that proposal from the energy experts that propose that we should be able to migrate gradually to using solar energy, Nelson. And there's something is happening to our neighboring countries. South Africa is also going through blackouts, but selling electricity to Botswana. So I don't know whether it's an African thing, it's a regional thing, but the ZESCO spokesperson will be coming tomorrow, and he's going to help us understand the nitty-gritties of load shedding.
And definitely, in case you're joining us this morning, this is the Tuesday edition of the Rise and Thrive breakfast show on Camnet TV, where we get to talk nothing but the very best of in terms of issues that do relate to you. And we're just having a conversation with Joe here on the background that tomorrow we're expecting ZESCO spokesperson as well as part of the marketing team to be joining us just to help us understand in terms of how far this load shedding will go, as well as other issues that may arise. You too need to keep in touch as we come live.
And also, Nelson, don't forget the proposed increment by the Energy Regulation Board by 9%. And today, in one of the daily tabloids, is it? Wait, I have it here. Wait. The daily tabloids, and we're talking about the news diggers. It reads with a screaming headline in black and white, which reads rather, Kapala justifies ZESCO increment. Even salaries go up. It's better to have power which isn't cheap. I'll repeat. The news diggers is going with the headline, Kapala justifies ZESCO increment. Even salaries go up. It's better to have power which isn't cheap. Do you think it is better to have power which isn't cheap amidst load shedding? Okay, so it's more like I'm paying rentals for this house which I don't spend the night in. I rarely spend the night in this house, but I'm paying rentals for it. More like when you're gathered as tenants, the landlord calls you individually and tells you you're supposed to be buying electricity, you're supposed to be doing these electricity units, and yet you rarely spend time at home. So it's at your own you buy electricity whenever you feel like. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But for me, honestly, Nelson, I'll tell you, for the minister to come out like this, I think the timing is wrong. The timing is very wrong. You've talked about the high cost of living. People in these townships are complaining about the high cost of living, having one meal a day. Youths are engaging in drug and alcohol abuse because they have literally nothing to do. And then you have the minister that says it's better to have expensive electricity units. I think the timing is wrong. For me, the timing is wrong.
Well, definitely we're coming live to you on Go TV channel 25 as well as DSTV channel 274, and not forgetting our YouTube as well as a Facebook platform. You can give us all those perspectives as well as comments in terms of what is going to be discussed on. And let's get to directly dive into the zooming headline segment, where we also give you an opportunity as our viewer out there or as an audience out there to give us your perspective by simply calling in on the numbers on your screen in terms of the stories that we're going to be reading that you might have missed on the previous bulletin. And one of the stories that we get to look at this morning is from Mapanza. There's a certain way words are pronounced when you go to the southern part, as well as your area, Western Province. So this one is Mapanza. Residents of Mapanza in Southern Province have commended government for its timely effort in the distribution of essential medicines and medical supplies in selected areas of Southern Province. One of the residents, Susan Haula, expressed gratitude that government, through the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency ZAMSA, has put up effort for the efficient procurement and distribution of medicines and supplies. Meanwhile, Mapanza Rural Health Center Sister in Charge, Chilala Shimba, confirmed the positive status of drug availability. She said this when ZAMSA conducted an inspection at Mapanza Rural Health Center, where it established that the facility has achieved over 90% availability of primary health care supply. We also get to look at a story, I'll call it a double header, if it wasn't football. Where we also saw a story from Support for Poverty Reduction in Zambia, SPRIZ, an non-governmental organization which has bemoaned the escalating poverty levels in the country amidst a challenging economic landscape. In an interview with Camnet News, organization programs manager Rhoda Banda underlined the adverse effects of the ongoing hardship, citing the detrimental effects of the livelihood on citizens in the country. She stresses the need for immediate and proactive government interventions in averting the further rise of the crisis. These are some of the stories that we get to look at, and we'll be back on the other side and looking forward to getting all those perspectives via the phone lines or the numbers that are on your screen. Keep it on Camnet.
Mapanza residents in Choma district of Southern Province are celebrating a significant milestone in healthcare accessibility. The residents of Mapanza have expressed satisfaction as they find accessing medicines easier than ever before. This revelation came to light when the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency ZAMSA visited Mapanza Rural Health Center to access the availability of primary healthcare supplies. ZAMSA has embarked on a spot check on the availability of essential medicines and medical supplies in selected areas of Southern Province.
So Mapanza ujibadiraja Mapanza kotusirigirwa baratupamisa mujindi notujiswa. So turumba hurumende tutumina misamu njo tusirigwa ujibadiraja Mapanza. Barumba batupamisa mugabazwidiriha weambere ushitati gatupona kumarwa zingo tujiswa.
Meanwhile, Mapanza Rural Health Sister in Charge, Chilala Shimba, indicates that the facility has been performing well in terms of drug availability, particularly since receiving the third batch of health center kits from ZAMSA.
The Rural Health Center is a facility with a population of 16,224. We have 11 zones. We have, I think, on monthly OPD attendance, an average of 1,000 plus. So we've been receiving drugs from Zambia. We received 4 kits. That was in March, and these kits are supposed to run us up to 2 months. We've opened 2, and we've I think remained with 2 more. Because we're primary health care, and what we have in the kit is what we're supposed to use as a facility. For the other commodities that we need as a facility, we get from DHO. I think for now we don't have a problem with drugs, shortfall drugs. We are okay because what isn't in the kit, we order from DHO and we're given.
So what has been the impact of these health center kits that are coming, or which you are receiving?
They've really helped a lot in our quality of service delivery, because we are able to give the clients what they need, and we're not on shortfall of any. So they've really helped a lot.
According to the sister in charge, the facility has reached over 90% in terms of primary healthcare supplies.
These 4 kits in 2 months. We received 1 in March. So, I mean, the consignment in March, and we still have 2 more that are not opened, which means these will carry us to the time that we receive the next kits. So we'll have what we need available at the facility. Keep up with the good work and make sure that we receive the available consignment in time.
Chandamwango for Camnet News. With the economy in decline, the financial stability of numerous families has been called into question. Rising living costs and a struggling economy have made it increasingly difficult for families to make ends meet. According to the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, a family of 5 in Lusaka is expected to spend over 10,600 kwacha to cover their basic needs and nutrition basket. However, this far exceeds the average monthly salary of a regular Zambian in formal employment, which stands at around 4,000 kwacha. This disparity has left many families struggling, especially those whose breadwinners are in informal employment and earn even less. The situation is expected to worsen as the Support for Poverty Reduction in Zambia, SPRIZ organization, predicts an increase in poverty levels in the country this year.
Economic situation that we are facing as a country entails that poverty levels have gone high. This is because the kwacha has been depreciating over time, and which has made the cost of goods and services go high, and therefore the demand for goods and services has been reduced generally. And secondly, the fact that the kwacha is depreciating, it has also meant that fuel prices have gone high because transportation of goods is generally very high. And thirdly, the fact that ZESCO has been load shedding the country, it has taken away some productive hours from citizens when they're supposed to engage in productive activities that can help revive the economy. And therefore, this in itself, when you look at all these factors together, they have the potential to increase the poverty levels among citizens in the country. Now, when you look at the food
load shedding, the unstable currency exchange rate, and rising fuel costs are taking a toll on families across the nation. With these challenges continuing to mount, families are finding it increasingly difficult to afford basic necessities. The Support for Poverty Reduction in Zambia has since advocated for the creation of a business-conducive environment, promotion of job opportunities, and the implementation of social protection services for vulnerable households in averting the crisis.
The food basket, which is at 10.6 at the moment. Looking at that, the remedy to this would be the government should consider reducing the cost of doing business, especially for small and medium enterprises. It's important for government to put up mechanisms that will ensure that the cost of doing business is reduced. And secondly, government should also look at creating employment opportunities, especially for the youths. And thirdly, I would say government should increase funding to social protection programs so that a number of vulnerable children, or rather vulnerable population, can access these social protection programs.
Chandamwango for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Those are some of the stories that we were looking at on the Zooming Headline segment as part of the stories that also we continue to unbundle as we get to transmit live to you. And those are some of the stories that are of concern. If you talk about the cost of living, everybody is actually at pains that the cost of living is increasing. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying in the background that in some areas, it's unfortunate that even a mealie meal that is supposed to be at a cheaper rate that is provided for by the government, such as Kalonga, mealie meal, as well as ZNS, to some areas is being paid at 270 kwacha instead of 230 kwacha. So you find that there are all these disparities and people are trying to take advantage of such opportunities that do come in.
That, Nelson, underscores a sad reality. That things are, one, expensive. Life is becoming unbearable for an ordinary Zambian to afford out there. Yes, there might be people pretending that everything is okay, but the reality is that the cost of living is high and everyone is feeling the pinch. The cost of doing business is high. You could tell that Miss Banda there, the program's manager, was talking about SMEs. How can they be assisted to run their businesses at a lowered cost? But then again, that suggestion comes at the backdrop of load shedding. We still go back to load shedding. If you run a salon, if you run a barber shop, if you are a welder, you are load shedded from morning till 14. Your clients are waiting. You need to deliver. How are you going to operate? How are you going to pay rentals? How are you going to pay for? How are you going to buy a bag of millimil which is fetching at 329, 330 kwacha? And when you talk about the cheap millimil which is going at 270 in some areas, Nelson. So you find that whichever angle you try to look at this matter, it all boils down to one and the same thing. Life right now is expensive, and we need to wake up and smell the coffee and realize that yes, indeed things are expensive. If stakeholders are able to voice out, the civil society organizations, and we saw recently the resurrection, if I may use that word, of the Oasis Forum. It had gone in oblivion, but it has risen up. Why? Because of the challenges that this country is facing. And now you can see stakeholders such as that organization talking about the high cost of doing business, fuel pump prices as well. Transportation is expensive. How are you going to have cheaper transportation if fuel is expensive? And you know, Zambia, you don't have a refinery. You talked about the Lobito corridor. Until now, we are still talking about it. We don't know when it's going to be constructed, when it's going to be operationalized. We talk about Indeni. The issue is quiet now. We don't know what's happening with Indeni. So all these coupled together are forming the social and economic challenges that Zambia is currently facing. And also the church. The church also is on record to have voiced out about the high cost of living, of doing business. And I'm thinking the church should be considered as a sober voice, a voice of reason, because this has happened in the past. It's still currently happening, and it will continue happening in the future. And also, we saw prior to the 2021 general elections where the clergymen talked about cadreism, talked about corruption, talked about, voiced out their concerns. Fast forward, we are hearing clergymen also voicing out their concerns about the current happenings in the country. And Father Mukosa, today, Tuesday, is reporting to the police. According to this story in the Daily Nation, it is one of our daily tabloids in Zambia. It is going with a headline. Let me even read the headline. Father Mukosa reports to police. Sub-headline reads, fears the police may ambush him with an arrest as there is no official correspondence to the effect that the call-out had been revoked apart from social media reports. Now,
but look, but there was confirmation from police spokesperson.
There was confirmation.
A statement to say after the assessment of the issue, we've arrived at a conclusion where we're able to say that Father Mukosa, it shouldn't even appear. This matter
was on social media.
Is trivial.
It was on social media.
No, not really. Those are an official statement.
The question that I would like to ask Nelson, the way that call out was issued to him was a follow-up reassessment document after reassessing the alleged crime that he committed, after assessing the situation thoroughly by the police command. Did they issue him with another document assuring him that do not come to the police station? This is a document that we are issuing to you. We are revoking the call out that we issued to you earlier. There hasn't been such correspondence. It has only, according to this story, it has only been where on social media and obviously in the mainstream media. You get my point?
For instance, the mainstream media, that's why we're here to inform.
But you need to communicate to me. If you are going to summon me to court, if you are going to summon me to court, definitely you need to bring summons to me.
I think the argument, Joe, basically, I think should be on the fact that police did communicate to say after reassessment, we've concluded that...
communicate to who? Who is the catalyst in this whole thing?
Wait, Joe, wait. We've found that there's no need for the father to appear at the police.
Communicating to who?
For questioning, right? There was that official statement of which the mainstream media took, right? Ignorance is not an excuse.
To whom?
Okay? So,
To whom?
are you telling me that
You want Father Mukosa to make a follow-up?
are you telling me that Father Mukosa was not monitoring? So the issue basically should be if there was no further communication in terms of, okay, we did receive a call out that was given to you, but here's now official communication to you that we've dropped the call out. But official communication from the side of the police through the spokesperson was made, and mainstream media did that story.
No. Look, this is why I keep on saying, as Africans, as Zambians to be precise, we need to be effective and efficient communicators. Yeah? We need to be efficient and effective communicators. Why do I say so? You need to follow the matter to the latter. That's why in communication there's what is known as feedback. Feedback helps you understand whether your message was effective or not, whether your message has reached the intended subject or not. Yeah? This particular feedback coming out through this tabloid regarding the clergyman, Nelson, indicates that the information wasn't rightly communicated to the clergyman.
Okay.
You get? Because if you are going to send me a text message, yeah, then I do not reply to that text message. I do not reply to that text message. Then you go on to announce that I sent him a text message, but I was insulting that particular text message, but I'm sorry I insulted. Whom are you communicating to? Who is the catalyst in this story? The catalyst is the clergyman himself, and he has to be the subject of discussion. So if you are going to address that particular statement or that particular announcement, address it to the right individual and make sure that he is communicated to.
But when a press statement,
you issue a press statement to who? You are issuing it to a general public, not to the intended person. This is what I'm talking about.
Is Father Mukosa not part of the general public?
No. The same way, there are procedures in communication. This is why we had conflicting statements. These are national matters, and we shouldn't take them lightly. We had communication from the PS, Ministry of Information and Media, saying that there is no call out, it is false, it is fake, whatever is circulating on social media, in whichever media, it's not true. Within 24 hours, in fact maybe it was 3 hours, 4 hours apart, police spokesperson issues a statement saying that yes indeed there was a call out that was issued to the clergyman by the Ndola Division headquarters. However, after reassessment, we are revoking that particular call out. My question is, was the same information communicated to the named clergyman, or it was done to appease the public, to meet the expectations of the public? Now already there's a conflict between government and the police command. The police command is admitting we issued a call out,
and the PS and the
a supposed the technocrat is saying no, these are false,
this is fake,
these are fake,
and as such Father Mukosa is appearing today.
As such, Father Mukosa is appearing today at police, because even him, if I were in his shoes, obviously I would also not take the two statements seriously, because you haven't communicated to me personally. There's a statement that has come that this is false, I don't have the call out, and yet I do have the call out. You are saying you have revoked it, but you haven't communicated to me. So let me go present myself and find out, like they say, get it from the horse's mouth. So that's what he's doing. He's reporting today.
But the horse's mouth was the police spokesperson.
The question is, the way that call out was issued, somebody brings you a call out. Bwana, you are wanted. Tomorrow, Wednesday, 10 hours, appear at police force headquarters. It's the same way another revoking of the call out should come. Another document should come saying you are supposed to appear tomorrow at 10 hours. However, this has been cancelled.
Let's get to look at that story. Definitely, I know there was that a story similar to that.
Governance expert Brebna Changala says there are serious reservations regarding the recent acquisition deal of Mopani copper mines, citing numerous ambiguities that demand clarification from government. In an exclusive interview, Mr. Changala underscored the necessity for parliamentary approval in any asset sale, emphasizing the legal framework surrounding such transactions. He claims the recent contradicting statements from the head of state are causing uncertainty around the Mopani deal. We do have a clip, and we go on this particular clip. When we come back, we'll be weighing more on this particular story and getting your views from you, the viewers out there. Stay tuned. Here's a clip.
On the 6th of April, whilst commissioning the Lusaka International Aberration Center, His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, said while many people think Mopani copper mine belongs to the government, it actually belongs to creditors. The President stated that his government labored to negotiate the Mopani deal. In his words, "I know many of you saw Mopani as a 100% company owned by the government. It is not like that. Mopani belongs to creditors. That's the truth. So when I hear my friends in the opposition talking about the Mopani transaction and demeaning the value of that transaction, I simply feel sorry for people, genuinely. It is either out of ignorance or just spite. Mopani belongs to creditors," the President stated. But governance expert Brebna Changala has questioned why the head of state went all the way to the Copperbelt province and informed Zambians that government had secured and sold shares to a new investor, International Resources Holding. He says the Mopani deal is a big dirty deal and soon the truth will be revealed.
This Mopani deal stinks. And the pungent smell, you can get it 2,000 kilometers away. And it will catch many like a net in a river. Truth takes long to arrive. Lies were celebrated on that day. And people were made to march to community house to celebrate the sale and give accolades to the Almighty Hakainde Hichilema. But the truth must be told and should be told.
Mr. Changala says the contradicting statements from the President and the Mines Minister shows how much the country lacks good leadership. He says national assets, according to the law, cannot be sold off without approval from the National Assembly. He has therefore called on the UPND administration to clearly state the owners of the Mopani mine and how the country has 49% shares if at all the mine belongs to creditors.
Mr. Hakainde must clearly state, one, who are these creditors who owned Mopani? Secondly, who gave the Zambian people 49% shares? But lastly, I'm inviting the former Minister of Mines, the one who handled the exit of Glencore, Richard Musuka, of the former administration, to clearly state what were the departure conditions of Glencore from Mopani. Did they leave it in the hands of the Zambian government? Did they leave it in the hands of the creditors? And why was the Zambian government involved in the negotiations if they had no role to play, as clearly stated by Mr.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
In a scheme of transfer pricing, those were the issues in the London ports that Glencore was facing on. So as far as I know, we shouldn't have owed them more than what we have paid. That's exactly what I'm saying. And Msokotwane and the president have confirmed. Now I want the president to tell me under what arrangements Glencore is being seen as having owned Mopani. Because the president clearly says the mine belongs to the creditors, and he mentions Mopani. I want to know how and why. And so these are serious issues of impropriety by the government's agents and their friends. And I think that when we talk, I'm glad Msokotwane has come out and started to talk, but we want the records, we want the contracts. We want to know what has gone on. These people are giving our silver spoon to the foreigners. It's okay to give Matthew Posa Mopani, but it's not okay to give a Zambian a port in Namibia. So it's like they have a phobia of Zambians owning these assets. So these are issues that we need to discuss. Personally, I feel that maybe we need to approach the court to let us understand as to why they didn't go before Parliament. I personally think that this is a very serious issue which we need to approach the court to ask the court as to why these people have breached the laws with impunity.
Okay, so those are the two stories featuring Mr. Brave Nachangala, the governance expert, and also FDD leader and President Madam Edith Nawakwi there, both of them voicing out a concern, a serious concern that borders on national assets, that borders on national matters, where they are talking about the Mopani deal. Who truly owns Mopani, Nelson? The minister says it was a joint venture that was entered into between Zambia through ZCCMIH and Mopani with a new investor. Now, the president has been quoted in the media that Mopani belongs to creditors. So, Nelson, on this particular matter, it raises a whole lot of concern, and it brings sad memories of 1993, 1994, when we saw our mines on the Copper Belt and major national assets in the Comindeko, Nambod, GPL, Kapiri Glass Factory, an assembling plant in the on Livingstone, textiles being privatized, and they were undervalued, and Zambia as a country up to now is still suffering the aftermath of that particular privatization effect that swept the country, because national assets were being sold at a song. So you look at what is happening to Mopani, we do not have clear information as to what is happening, because we're getting conflicting statements again. The minister says one thing, on the other hand, when he's pressed too much, he says the Auditor General, not the Auditor General, the Attorney General,
yes,
the legal representative of any government, and in this case we're talking about Learned Counsel, obviously, who occupies that office, Counsel Mlilo Kabesha, in this case, who is the Attorney General of this particular, under this particular administration. When the minister is pressured too much in media spaces, he talks about there was due diligence done by the Attorney General. Of course, through our research and through consultations with our producers, we do understand that, that the Attorney General offers legal advice, offers legal opinion on matters that borders on what government intends to do, or in this deal of Mopani. He will offer his legal opinion, you see? Yes. But a few days ago, the president said it belongs to creditors, and we do have some information that the credit that is owed to Glencore will be paid through dividends for the next 10 years.
Yeah, there's more of, I would say, more of an information gap relating to...
Is it by design? Is it deliberate? What is happening? Because we do understand government gets the best of the best. It gets refined people that have been vetted, and these are qualified people to run these particular offices in terms of information dissemination, in terms of being at the Ministry of Information, or being a public relations officer or a communication expert in any department, whether it's a party structure or government itself. Why are we not getting the right, correct, verified, factual information?
I think it's going to be more prudent to also get correspondence, especially from the ministry that is involved. We're talking about the Ministry of Mines and Natural Resources. So meaning that we need to look at all this holistically and look at how best we can get to also deal with this issue. Because if we continue to speculate, Joe might find that...
We're not speculating. We're not speculating.
We're not speculating, but...
We're not speculating. What we are basically doing is that the information that has already been churned out there from the president, the Republican president,
why am I saying...
Two, from the minister himself,
yes.
We are saying these are two conflicting statements. And we're not the only ones that have observed this. But also, governance expert Brebna Changala has also observed this. Veteran politician, former finance minister, Madam Edith Nawakwi, has also observed this, that these are conflicting statements that have been reported widely.
You know why I'm saying we can only speculate? It's because you and I have not looked at the documentation of the deal.
Have these documentations have they been presented to the general public?
Absolutely not.
We are talking about the Information to Access Access to Information Act. Is it operational? It's not yet operational. It's not yet operational. If it was operationalized, you and I would have stood up, gone to the Ministry of Mines, approached the Minister of Mines himself and said, can we get the details, the document, that thick dossier that has all this information regarding this transaction? However, the Access to Information Act is not yet operationalized. So how are we supposed to get this information? Information is being given in bits and pieces, and when it's being given, it's conflicting information. So which information are we going to believe? Is this by design? Is this deliberate? That's what we are asking, because these are national matters.
Definitely.
And these are national assets. The public is waiting to be informed.
You see the reason I even did indicate to say we can only speculate, because there's a lot of information that has been brought on the table without proper verification.
But if it comes from the minister, the impression out there would be it's verified, because it's coming from the minister himself,
as well as the president.
If it comes from the president, what we know to say, he's the principal. So when the president says something, then it means that there's the truth in there. So we need to probe more. Who are the creditors? Like Madam Edith Nawakwi said, who owns Mopani? If it belongs to creditors, who are these creditors? Are we talking about Glencore? Are we talking about the new investor? Who are these creditors? We need to know, because look, the country will be paying dividends to Glencore for the next 10 years, right? Paying back that credit that we owe. Now, in an event that the UPND administration, this particular administration, does not form government in 2026, what happens to the next government? It means that they will inherit the credit. Same applies to a debt restructuring deal. It means that whichever government comes, they will continue paying debts. Your children, my children, your children there will continue paying debt when they come in the next 10 years. You get my point? So, like what our governance expert, Mr. Brebna Changala, said, can former minister, Mr. Musukwa, tell us what was the departure point between Glencore and Mopani? What was agreed upon? You get? What was agreed upon? We need that information, because that information is critical. We don't want in the next 10 years, 20 years to come to inform the nation with information that will make the general public out there not satisfied or not happy because of the information we're giving them. Same applied to privatization. Until now, it's still hazy. We don't know how our mines were sold off. We don't know who got what. All that we know is that they were undervalued.
Well,
and the beneficiaries, some of them are still alive, and they're still enjoying the proceeds of the mines that they sold.
Let's get to look at some of the stories, and then we get to also ask our guest.
Our guest is will be coming through, but we're taking it to church now, where the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ Executive Director Bishop Andrew Mwenda has urged government to cease its alleged practice of intimidating individuals who voice dissenting opinions. Good observation from the clergyman there. We do have a clip. We'll be right back.
Ndola's St. Joseph Catholic Parish priest, Father Chere Mukosa, has been making rounds on social media after his Good Friday message went viral. On the 6th of April 2024, Father Chere Mukosa was summoned by the Ndola police for investigations in relation to the Easter Friday prayers conducted by the church, where he talked about load shedding and the high cost of living, which did not sit well with some sections of society. The summon was later retracted by the police.
The Zambia Police Service issues this message to Father Chere Mukosa in response to the recent call-out issued to him by the Copperbelt Division. We urge him not to report to the Copperbelt Division as per the call-out issued to him. After reassessment of the situation, it has been determined that there is no need for his immediate appearance or involvement in any ongoing investigations or inquiries.
But this action has raised eyebrows to how the government has chosen to react to any person who issues statements that contradict the ruling party. It is for this reason the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia is calling on the government to desist from this habit and accept criticism from everyone. Speaking to Camnet News, Bishop Andrew Mwenda says the sermon was unnecessary.
This idea where all the time when somebody makes a comment contrary to their position, they would want to either call that person to the police or say the person has abrogated the law or so. That should not be. Okay, so the comment on the arrest of Father Mukosa, or rather the call for Father Mukosa to the police, is not necessary, not at all. It should not have been there at all. So the church stands in the fact that it's not right to continue the way they are doing it right now.
However, UPND Deputy National Youth Chairperson Phineas Pumulo says the clergy must be factual when issuing such statements and not sideline the good things the current administration is doing.
The clergymen are criticizing or advising the government. They should talk about the negative and the positive that the government has done. Because you can't tell me that 2 years, 7 months of President Hakainde Hichilema has done completely nothing. So we want to encourage the pastors and women and men in Kora that whenever you want to advise the government, tell us the negative things that the government has thought to deliver and the positive things that the government has delivered, so as to not to sing that you are siding. Because we know where you're coming from. PF used to beat us.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, thank you so much for still joining us. Now, that was obviously Bishop Andrew Mwenda, a clergyman, a seasoned clergyman for that matter, and also UPND Lusaka District Youth Spokesperson Phineas Pumulo in that particular clip. The clergy have come on board to speak about matters that border national matters. And obviously matters of high cost of living, high cost of meal, high cost of doing business, and obviously urging state government not to intimidate dissenting voices in that particular clip. However, we get into our main interview where we feature Honorable Emmanuel Tembo. He is the Federal Member of Parliament. He joins us this morning. Good morning, Honorable, and good to see you.
No, thank you. Good to see you too, guys. And I'm so glad to be back at Camnet. It's really a pleasure on my part. And good morning, all the viewers.
Okay, fantastic. Honorable, first things first, let's take it to National Assembly.
Yeah.
You are on recess right now.
Absolutely.
We do understand that. And but before we even talk about you being on recess and having intentions to go to your constituency, let's talk about what's been happening in the House in the recent past.
Absolutely.
How do you make of the suspensions that have come forth?
Yeah.
In a space of a week, within a month, 3 members of Parliament are suspended.
Exactly.
What is really happening to our House?
No, in fact, let's even say 4.
4 members of Parliament.
Exactly.
Thank you for that correction.
The nominee coincided with the other new suspensions. Yeah, essentially, you will agree with me that government is divided in 3 arms. That is the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive.
Okay.
Now, the executive arm, that's where the president is, and they run the day-to-day affairs of government. Now, our role as Parliament is to provide checks and balances on the executive.
Okay.
And or any other public officer. Secondly, make laws, and as individual MPs, we have a duty towards our constituencies.
Okay.
But you know, quickly, without wasting time, what has been happening in Parliament, not only in the last 1 month, but from the beginning, obviously, is worrisome.
Okay.
Yeah, we have rules. Yes, we don't talk about ourselves, but you see, when issues of national importance are done, we need not to hide.
Okay.
There is a big problem at Parliament, and I think that the executive has poked its hands in the National Assembly. That's the biggest problem.
Are you suggesting interference from
absolutely,
the executive
absolutely
to the legislature?
Into the legislature. They are trying to control the legislature. I mean, you will see, I'll start explaining this. The last suspension of Honorable Jean Senga, obviously, which I'll never, and you know, which any normal people who's got the interests of Zambians at heart, particularly the poor people, should never support that suspension. You see, we as members of Parliament, we speak on behalf of the people. When people are complaining, we air the same views. So when I say you are a liar, it's not necessarily coming from me. It's coming from the Zambian people.
The ones you are representing.
The ones we are representing.
Because you voted at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And we do not only represent the people of Fera, but the country, even the whole nation. That is what it means to be a member of Parliament. By the way, members of Parliament are paid out of public funds, and they have a duty towards the public. I mean, we have the issues, if you saw the exchange between the President and the Honorable Jean Seng, was the issue of millennium, the cost of living, fuel, all these issues that are eating us up. In the last 2 years, Zambians have been tormented.
Okay.
There's trauma. You see, there's no trauma. Trauma does not come out of words. It comes from hunger. I'm coming from a rural constituency and we are experiencing too much hunger. Children fainting at school. Because you see, they wait for 16 hours to eat once. There's what they call one teleka. Teleka po kamoz. That's one teleka. Now, the child when he wakes up just has to go. Because they love school. No, children love to go to school because they learn. So with or without food they go, but along the process.
And learning needs energy.
Exactly. Learning needs a lot of energy. Yeah, so Parliament should have respected the views. They should have not seen it as an assault on the president. It was a wake-up call. Now, one of our colleagues, Emmanuel, is an independent, and I believe that, you know, obviously was doing that out of some influence. You know, I know, I'm coming from Parliament. So he complained, in inverted commas. Let me just say, was used to complain. He didn't complain, then, you know, because of numbers, we voted. And, you know, we vehemently refused that. But the UPND have got numbers. And they were instructed to vote for the suspension of Jean Senga for 30 days. And that was too much. Because in that 30 days, you don't attend Parliament, you don't go to your office, you don't get paid your allowances, nor do you get paid your salary. And you know, for an MP has all these responsibilities. So the attempt was to cripple her and to stop any other person who wants to say the truth as it is. Yeah. So,
are you being gagged as parliamentarians? Are you being gagged to speak the concerns of the electorates in your constituencies? Are you being gagged? Do you feel you are being gagged?
In fact, yeah, because the way the current system as a whole works under President Hakainde, you have to choose what to say. if I have to represent the views of my constituency, it's those views that are seen politically, supporting or praising. Yeah, let me say praising. Yeah, but the reality is, for instance, the pain. I have a problem with this human-animal conflict. People are eaten every day. As I'm just coming back from the gospel. You tell them this, they'll not even pay attention. And some of us, we love to talk the truth. We fought for independence. Our forefathers. My grandfather died in the independence struggle. In 1991, I was a youth. I was just getting to 20 years, 18 or 19 years. But I voted for the first time. The main reason we voted in 91, I'll tell you, it was because it was difficult to speak. When you say something, your father, your mother, you'll be in trouble. The vigilantes, the whole system. There was nothing wrong with Dr. Kaunda. He did a lot for this country, but there reached a time when we could not speak as Zambians.
Okay.
Now, a return to pre-1991 is unacceptable, and will not allow President Hakainde or any other person in this country to stop us from saying what the truth is. So I was just going to say that 30-day suspension for Jean Kapata goes for every one of us. Sorry, Jean Senga. Yeah, sorry. And, by the way, she's a very good friend of mine. I mean, we share quite a lot. Yeah, now, that 30-day suspension, it's an indictment of every Zambian. It's a suspension for each one of us. That's why people have come on board to say that we're going to contribute even more than she was supposed to get paid by Parliament. Because they support our views. Yes, yeah.
Now, what happens when a member of Parliament is suspended, let's say for 30 days, just like it happened for Madam Jean Chisenga, yes, member of Parliament? Absolutely. What is the ripple effect in terms of the people that she serves as a parliamentarian?
Exactly. So, you see, in that 30 days, first and foremost, she's not allowed to go into Parliament or anywhere, or even Parliament, but she can't interact with office. And because it's also a public issue, she's allowed to go into government offices, but she can't go in her own constituency office. That is a new thing. And by the way, 30 days is the highest penalty that Parliament gives to, erring members. But, suffice to say that one of the effects is that she is going to, fail to represent her people in that 30 days. If a calamity happened, it will be difficult. She will not do anything but say. So in other words, for the 30 days that she is on suspension, Mambilima constituency is not being represented. There is a huge gap that has been created because, as you know, a member of Parliament is also a link between the constituency and the central government.
In this case, having explained that, maybe one would be prompted to ask a question to say, now, what is the role of parliamentarians in terms of the utilization as well as implementation of CDF? Yeah. What happens if you're not allowed to be even in your office when you're supposed to represent a certain particular group of people?
Absolutely. So even CDF, because we monitor a lot of, and I'll tell you, the MP is busy, yes, but when you go on the ground, things start moving. And the fact that she's on suspension, it means that now even CDF projects that, because CDF, by the way, is the only development method that is there. So, and it falls on the MP. So with that suspension, we obviously expect these projects to suffer. We expect, like I said, the huge gap between the people's, yeah.
Others have argued that, especially members of Parliament from the opposition, really, in all honesty, they've not been trying to be to exercise integrity as well as honesty when debating these issues. They always want to show like they've got an upper hand against those that are administering or are presiding over the houses. One of the examples was an altercation between Mparakoso, member of Parliament, Brian Mundiwid, and he should have been the second deputy speaker in Moses Moyo.
Absolutely.
Where they exchanged words. More of that. Is it true that members of Parliament from the opposition side do not exercise due diligence as well as integrity when debating in the House?
Okay, so I'll tell you, first and foremost, we have internal rules, and these rules apply both to the opposition and the ruling party MPs, okay? and they apply to the ministers and everyone else, including the presiding officers, meaning the speaker, deputy speaker, the two deputy speakers. Now, what has happened? There is selective application of these rules. Okay, so if Gary Nkombo stands, on a point of order, they will allow it immediately. There's a point of order. Now, if Emmanuel Tembo's, that you keep on raising your hand, I do not be recognized. Now, what happened, the altercation, between Speaker 2 and was obviously very sad, because you see, as Speaker, you need to allow people to speak. It does not mean that, you are at the nursery school where you tell children, hey, wash your hands, do this. No, that's not. And we are in Parliament by virtue of the mandate by the people. Essentially, because of mishandling of these affairs, lack of fairness, affording people to speak and so on, people get, so it builds over a period of time. If I want to say something, then I'm stopped. Anyway, whether in church or in politics or in a club, every time, so over a period of time, it accumulates. One day, the best will be too much. That's why you see people fighting in Parliament. In fact, we are lucky. If you see what happened to Honorable Kangombe, the issue of Honorable Kangombe, JJ Banda recently, those are examples of not the opposition trying to undermine the central, but the executive or the ruling party, but because people were actually being stopped from doing what is right. Okay, so that is what, and we go to Parliament to speak.
In case you're joining us, this is the Camnet TV Breakfast Show on a Tuesday, and our guest this morning is Farah Member of Parliament, Emmanuel Tembo, where we get to discuss a number of issues in terms of what is happening in the country. And one of those issues is the talk surrounding the Mopani copper mines deal, where others have called it a joint venture between the government and those that have invested in the mine. And recently, while officiating at the launch of an arbitration center in Lusaka, President Hakainde Hichilema did mention that actually Mopani copper mine belongs to the creditors.
To creditors.
And the questions also have lingered from the opposition. FD leader Edith Nawaku, who has questioned, who are these creditors?
Can we get names?
If
we need names of these creditors.
If
we need to be given accurate information. Honorable, there is a concern that this particular deal did not see the light of Parliament. Whenever a major asset is being sold, it needs to go through Parliament. Honorable, you are here, you represent the constituency and the people of Zambia. What are your views?
Yeah, I'll tell Zambians one thing. These countries, we are where we are because of copper. Let's not beat about the bush. Mopani copper mines, KCM, all these, now these are new ones. But I'm talking about
the old
ones. They are those under CCM, which saw me, I was privileged to have what is known as free education. I've not seen free education from 2021 to date. I'm telling you. I just talked about children, collapsing because of hunger. You see, the free education that because of the copper, Zambia controlled the copper production, the copper sales, all the process came in. The Zambian national team, why it was called Chipolopolo, the copper queens or the copper boys, is because we controlled, copper mining. Of course, there are other minerals like emeralds and so on that supplemented, but the main ones that. Now, whoever mishandles copper mining is an enemy of this country. That I must tell you. With regard to the issue, you see, I want to, recognize President Edgar Lungu, for the new constitution, the 2016 constitution, to add that clause that before, in Article 210 of the Constitution too, before any major asset is sold, Parliament must be able to approve. Before any major asset is transferred, or otherwise incidental to all those issues, that asset must be brought to Parliament.
Okay.
Now, these guys did inform the country that they found a liquid partner who has acquired 51% of the mine, Mopani copper mines. And we're wondering how. Now, whether it's a sale or not, but the mere control of that mine by 51% by these international resource holdings, whoever they are. And I hear this company was only incorporated 2 years ago, if not a year ago, by the way. Now, remember the statement I said, when you mishandle copper mining, how do you even give a company which is not known? It was just born. By the way, a company is a person. So if it was incorporated in 2024, it means it was born in 2024. So its age is just a year. What history do they have? Now, that is one of the biggest problems. So right now, we have an issue of a serious constitutional breach with regard to our national asset in the name of Mpani copper mines. And I can tell you, we'll not go to sleep as Zambians. These are our assets. They are assets for our children and our children's children. We don't care about which Muzungu is your friend and has interest in this country. What we want is to protect the interests of Zambia. As PF, we will do everything possible. You know, even a contract, it must be signed legally. An illegal contract is always vitiated, or you know, it can be nullified, you know, in simple language. So this is what is going to happen to.
So, as parliamentarians,
now further, yes, I wanted to address the issue of saying that it belongs to creditors.
Yes.
Now, as president, you must be transparent. A president who's not transparent is not being president. By the way, you are at the mercy of Zambians. Being at the mercy of Zambians means you are a mere employee. You must give a full report. The shareholders, like in a company, the shareholders are Zambians. That person in Kalikiliki, in Mikomfwa, in Kaputa, and elsewhere, in Wengwa, those are the owners of this country, they are the shareholders. And they need a report. Who are these? And I agree with President Nawakwi, Edith Nawakwi, President of FDD, that we need to a list of all these you are referring to as the creditors. So, and you know how? We can't be passing statement just like that, you know, unguarded. So, it's my view that this whole deal stinks of corruption.
Okay.
Nothing else. There's serious corruption, high nature. Yeah.
Okay. All right, but are we going to see a motion being moved in Parliament as you resume sitting as National Assembly regarding this particular deal?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, other than motions, there are other options that we are going to undertake as PF. You remember, I belong to the legal committee of the PF. I'm the secretary of the committee, and we are looking at various options. Okay. And they will not, you know, for me, I'm really, my heart is bleeding, really.
So it's not a political move?
No, you see, this has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with bread and butter. Now, Zambia, like many other countries, subsidize food for the poor. The subsidies come from earnings from copper. Now, if you are not earning, you are giving away these assets. That's why it is important to, fuel must be subsidized, electricity must be subsidized, so that it covers the poor. You see, there are different classes of people. There are those of us, you know, who've been to school, and to school at courtesy of the poor people. Okay? Like I said, you see, I went through what is really, you know, they even give you books. Even when you're studying, you know, you're even feeling proud that, you know, you're a Zambian. Not, you know, a child, a free education child is going empty stomach. You know, you are going, he's thinking about, what time were we knocking off? No, the child should look forward to learning. You see, so the UPND have touched a very sensitive issue, which is food. And I'm even surprised that, you know, there's mishandling of even this ZNS millennium. You know, like in my place, you know, I mean, people are politicizing it. You know, they are selectively distributing and so on, and I was very annoyed. And yeah, so what I'm saying is that as government, the UPND must be transparent, particularly on these copper mining contracts. They must tell us what contract is there between them and this KCM, what is this useless Indian man, Vendetta. We need to know this.
Agawa?
Yes, Agawa, criminal. You know,
why do you call him criminal?
Look, I mean, it's in black and white.
He's an investor.
You see, that's why Mr. Sata invented a new word, investor.
Okay.
Investor, yeah, you see, because they are milking us. They bite and they are sucking blood out of this country, whilst, you know, we are shrinking. This is what is happening. Have you heard that there's a bank that has closed? You know, when banks start closing up, now this is a third financial institution, they respond to poor economic activities in the country. When the economy is going down, the banks actually start shaking. So not only has this one closed, but there are others which continue, running on poorly. These are serious indicators. We raised an issue with the finance minister. He was unable to explain. A doctor was worked for IMF, this and that. By the way, I don't care. The qualifications most of us we have, they are questioning. You see, you go to a neo-colonial university, an imperialist-oriented university, which, imperialists mean they promote the interests of the West, whilst to the detriment of our own economy. This is what is happening. And from the word go, if those who are followed, there are few of us who raise the issue. Don't go the IMF way. Today, they haven't even apologized. They don't even come back to us and say, look, but they don't just mention IMF. I'll ask you, when was the last time you heard the finance minister or even the president mention IMF? IMF is a beast, basically. And this is in black and white.
But
social media.
But they've argued, especially those that are in the wheels of power currently, that even at the time when the PF was in power,
exactly.
they did go the debt restructuring way, and they wanted to strike a deal with the IMF over this thing. And now that it has been done under the UPND, this should not be something that should be politicized according to those that are from the...
We have been told you need to say thank you. You need to appreciate the UPND.
Yeah, you see, I'm laughing at that statement. First and foremost, the UPND, like we were speaking earlier, you need to have benchmarks of achievements. Okay? It's true, the debt restructuring, was started by the PF, using this Lazard French international financial consultant. And if you have noticed, these are the people who have finished the process. But you raised the issue that PF were in negotiations with the IMF. It's true. But we went to the negotiating table with our own conditions. That is where I pat the back on the PF. The UPND may have demonized the PF, but you see, the UPND just went, they were promised 1.3 billion, and then with conditions to stop taxing the mines, with conditions, to cut certain, subsidies.
Wait a minute. Just there. To stop taxing the mines, isn't that counterproductive to the economy and what Zambia Revenue Authority said? That it's hard to tax the mine. Then you go on a negotiating table talking about not taxing the mine.
Yeah, so that point I don't want to lose. It's very important. It's a very important point. But let me just address the issue that PF really also... We did not go to the IMF to beg. We told them, if you have to accept your package, we'll not do the following, we'll do this. That's it. We'll not touch FISIP, we'll not touch fuel, because they are poor Zambians. By the way, I would like to remind Zambians what they already know. PF is a pro-poor party. That's why we went there. Unlike the UPND, they did not look at the interests of the poor. They went into that agreement. It's a deadly agreement, so to speak. Now, the issue of raised
taxing the mines.
Taxing the mines. By the way, look, a government survives on taxation. What about me, an employee? An employee survives on the salary. Now, if you say, don't pay me a salary so that the company keeps my money, after it has made profit, that's when. So what happens is when we give a mining license to Vendetta, to everyone, you know what they do? They get that license, our license, even land, we give huge chunks of land. These people go to banks and get loans. Okay? They pump in there. Now, we've given them a startup. Why shouldn't we tax them? I've just explained that a government runs on taxes. If the government doesn't tax the mines, then they do not know why they're in government. ZRA must tax corporate tax, mineral royalty tax, which they removed, and we're losing over almost $1 billion annually as a result of that exercise, which was not of our making but IMF. So must put it very clear, and Zambians and IPU, let's not be cheated. These companies, when they come, they make profits from here, but they'll give a report. There's what they call price transferring, or whereby you are selling your goods to your own company as if it's a sale, or you are paying for costs that you did not incur to reduce the profit. So they'll tell you, no, we made a loss. Now imagine 20 years, the company is telling you they've made a loss. I'll tell you, for 3 months if you start making losses, you go for another 2 months, you must close shop. But what is surprising, these companies, the mining companies from outside, the so-called investors, whom I'm calling investors, they come here, make money, every time they are making losses. Look at this same vendetta at KCM. Why did he fight so hard? There were so many court cases to come back to KCM. If they were making losses, you know, I'll be very happy to leave.
Let me ask you this question. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Is this the same gentleman, the same investor who gathered his fellow countrymen in a conference room and disclosed and laughed that he bought a mine in Zambia, $25 million?
Yeah.
Is this the same individual?
In fact, you know, he did not, he even said that he did not pay that. It's the same individual.
Okay.
The one that the UPND has brought back. He laughed at us that we know we are foolish. We gave him a mine free of charge. He only paid that money after he made money from the same mine. He paid us from our own mine $25 million. Now, you know, I was really talking about it. You know, the international taxing system. These multinational corporations have realized that we have weak governments.
Okay.
You know, and they've taken our economies to their own institutions for training as, you know, PhD holders and so on. And through these mechanisms, they actually control us. And if you listen to Reverend Mapoma from Zimbabwe, Lumumba, you know, they talk about these issues. These are real issues. I agree with late President. In fact, it's not late President Mugabe. He's very much alive through his policies and what he said.
Okay.
You know, we need to wake up as Africans. We need more so. We need to wake up as Zambians. Myself, I'm so tired of having people praising, you know, the Americans praising this. I mean, can't we think? You know, do you know that even without going to school, we can address our economic problems? The biggest problem is that we follow textbooks which are written by other people. Yeah, and
okay, continue on.
Exactly. So, in my view, we are going to ensure that you know, we need to empower ourselves and have faith in ourselves as Zambians, as Africans, because otherwise, you know, I mean, we'll be going round circles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Honorable, how do we change the mindset of many Zambians out there?
Absolutely.
How do we begin to change the narrative? Because you, Honorable, and the rest of the young parliamentarians in there, the Munia Zulus,
yes,
the Munia Zulus, the Emmanuel JJ Bandas, the Jin Sengers. How are you going to change the narrative?
Absolutely. Yeah, so, you know, I'll try. I wanted to explain a few things.
Okay.
When PF was in power, we lost power, we were only in power for 10 years. You know, we had a strategy. The first thing we said, this country is rich in resources, very rich. It's, by the way, the third richest country, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere there, third, fourth, in Africa, when it comes to resources, and we are extremely rich. We have already.
Why are our people poor? Why are the people feel hungry?
I'll come to that. In fact, I'm glad you've raised it. You know, the mindset of the leadership is what undermines these resources. We have handed over these resources, and you know, apart from the mineral resources, we have forest resources. We have, you know, even animal resources. All these are controlled by foreigners. We can't allow that. Have you seen what has happened in Senegal? Have you seen what has happened in Guinea? You know, where the military, there was a coup, of course, I'm not saying that. Yeah, there's a gentleman.
No, you're not condoning it.
Yes, exactly. You know, that gentleman, the language he speaks. They were selling uranium. The country was getting $11, losing, in fact, $12, whilst they were being stolen from $188. So when it took over, they changed that system. Now the country is one of the richest. Within just
so these things can be changed.
These things can be changed. You need a bold person. Like they have said, the new generation of ourselves. You see,
the Christopher Kangombe, the Romeo Kangombe from Western Province. What is happening?
We should forget about being, you know, Magufuli did it, just in, yes, there were consequences. But you see, as a unity, we need to stand up and say enough is enough.
Because you are the future.
Yeah, exactly. So all we need, like the first step, I'll tell you.
You are the future leader of oppositions, leader of government business. You are the future.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, I'm not saying that I wish to be president, but if I was president today, the first decision is to broaden the tax base.
Okay.
Because the biggest problem of Zambia is money. If you ask a question in Parliament, when are you going to build this bridge to connect this area? Because it has been disconnected for a long time. They will tell you, no, when the government has money. But when is the government going to have money? We have these resources. The answer is there. So, strictly speaking, we need to work on taxation. Okay. You talked about Tefera. You know, it's true. 90% of our people are in abject poverty. We are sitting on gold, copper, diamonds, precious, just fair. In that what they call the lower Zambezi. These minerals are being stolen. I was here talking about we should open up that area for mining. Forget about the nonsense of environmental advocacy or this group funded by WWF Mzungu. Where? We look at what benefits our people, not people we do not know. No, we have a convention on what? How can animals be more important than the human beings? You people, do you read the Bible? Or even when you don't read the Bible?
Honorable, in as much as I want to laugh that off, but this is a serious matter.
Absolutely, it is.
How can we achieve that, Honorable, when you have youths known as Jerabos on the copper belt who've been told not to go back to the mining site where they used to mine? And one of them tried to go back, he was shot. He was shot in the leg.
You know.
And charged for criminal trespass.
Exactly. You know, those assets, they are for Zambians. The Jerabos, by the way, they may conventionally look illegal. But what they are doing is what government should formalize. We need to formalize and support them. Because you see, Kitwe always has money. When you know they were controlling this, I know that there were legalities and we needed to control that. Okay. Yeah, but it's an example on how Zambians can be empowered to do mining properly. But you see, when we don't allow them, they will do illegally. These are some of the things. But you remember, I was just addressing the issue of Fera. We have a lot of minerals. We have a lot of animals, but we are living in abject poverty. Something which hurts me. And this is the mentality that I've said. The Minister of Green Economy, he agrees with those white people that are running, lodges and all these things. No, what? Tourism this, tourism that. Now, I gave an example in my opening remarks that Zambia is copper. Copper is Zambia. Let me just go through some of the things that Kaunda did when they were controlling copper. Okay. One, sport. There were a lot of stadia that was built. Two, there were a lot of teams that were sponsored. Universities and colleges were sponsored from copper proceeds. A number of roads were done without even borrowing. Okay? Of course, there are other issues that came up, but you see, what made us to be what we are today is copper. And this is an issue we should handle with seriousness. Not something, some guy comes, they incorporated the company one month ago, and no, we give a national asset without bringing approval to Parliament.
Do they have the experience of mining?
In fact, they do not have. You see, what happens with mining, by the way, there's also subcontracting. So these are dealers. What the UPND have brought, these are dealers, not miners. Okay, so these are the people that get the asset and do this. There will be jobs. You see, so what? 2,000 jobs. We have almost 25 million Zambians now. What is 2,000 jobs? Are you talking about? Yes, if you talk about 100,000 jobs, I'll be moved also. Okay. Okay, because naturally there will be some resources trickling down to the people.
Let's also get to wrap up with your view. We know Father Cherem Kosa was summoned before to appear before police command in Copperbelt, and later on we did see a press statement from the police spokesperson Ray Hamonga indicating that after reassessment there's no need for the clergyman to appear before the police. And later on also there's a statement from Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Media in Tawahawana indicating that, look, the call out was fake. Now, one of the questions that linger amongst our audience, amongst the people out there is, are the clergy here in Zambia becoming partisan?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I think there are about 3 important issues we've raised. First and foremost, how can the police summon a clergyman when, during a sermon, particularly a Catholic priest? That is one issue. Then secondly, the call out itself, there was a reaction that the other ones are saying they've reversed, the police are saying they've reversed. Then PS, Ministry of Information, saying the call out was fake. You see, then later on the withdrawal. What happened? What caused the withdrawal? That is the issues, 3 issues I would like to address. Now, what I want to say first and foremost, there is freedom of speech. I already said that in 1991 I was one of the youths who believed in free speech. Now, of course, I'm not saying insults, but free speech, when I'm hungry, I must say, no, I'm hungry. You know, when my rights have been in trouble, I must say they have been. So, now, what are the UPND have been doing? When you are critical, you are criticizing. Because you see, in a multi-party democracy, criticism is the order of the day. Yeah, so that we put you on your foot toes. You came from opposition to come and eat. To think that you have a free food. No, 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 no. If you want a free reign, go to private company.
So there's no free lunch?
You know, well, yeah, actually there's no free lunch. Yeah, so the issue with the UPND, they become oversensitive to criticism. Nelson, you just said that, look, I didn't see, the president didn't dress properly. You'll be caught by the police. You see, I mean, it's your opinion, you know, just a simple thing. There's a boy that, you know, they messed up in Southern Province. They got him charmed. When they harassed him, by the time we knew, the boy was meant to admit that, you know, he said certain things. But others are being left out. You see, so there is serious selective handling of these issues. Now, with regard to Father Chewe, look, the Catholic have a policy, an old age policy from independence. Kaunda had problems with that because, you know, this social teaching. There, you're talking about, and they're even trained in politics and the church. There's a relationship. That is normal because they speak on behalf of the people spiritually as well as physically. So they address two things, the spiritual needs of the people and the physical. And that there's been no problem. Now, when you're in opposition, that works well for you. The UPND was happy in opposition that even PF, MMD, all the leaders have been there. They've been criticized by the Catholic Church. And
so it's not something new?
No, it's not something new. And it's normal, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it and so on. But you see, what criminal is there in saying that there's load shedding? What criminal is there in saying that we are hungry, the standard of living? There was nothing criminal. So the attempt was to stop there, you know, that others. But you see, the reaction from the church was that more preachers will start talking about these issues if you do this. Hence, they withdraw. But you see, the PS should have been exercised some integrity to say that, okay, we've just withdrawn, we were wrong. There's nothing wrong in saying
there's no
apologize. There's no harm. There's no harm in apologizing. No, not saying that it was fake. Then you contradict yourself by the other person saying, no, we have withdrawn, blah, blah, blah. So what happened was that when they saw, because that video went viral, by the way. When it went viral, they saw it, and it made an impact, obviously, against the UPND. So when they saw that, they said, no, let's hammer it. When they went there, they realized that they were worsening the problem rather than sorting out.
Thank you so much.
In the same vein, I know we've run out of time, sorry. In the same vein, the reaction to Jean Senga, Honorable Jean Senga, the reaction to Father Chewe, and many other people who say the truth is the same. So we should not think that these
are dissenting voices against the UPND trying to be silenced as we go on.
Absolutely. So the key issue is that the UPND is bent on silencing everyone. And once they do that, then, you know, they think that they'll win the 26. Because the battle is not them with Jean Senga or Father Chewe or Emmanuel Tembo or UPF or UKA. Their battle is with the Zambian people because of hunger and, you know, just generate the cost of living. And I think if I was, instead of listening to these complaints, we should not, you know, shut up people or, you know, invite dissenting voices. Yeah, as people have been saying, it's true that, you know, the democratic space has drastically shrunk in Zambia. And, you know, by the way, we expected a lot from President Hakainde because of what the many promises he said. It's different with President Lungu. When President Lungu was coming into office, you know, he did not really promise much, but he did a lot. You know, the 2026 Constitution was one fundamental issue, even as a lawyer, that I appreciate, you know, for this guy. There are a number of, well, there could be one or two things, but you know, the running mate 50+1 issue came in. I know now we're seeing how to protect our assets. You know, these issues of MPs moving from one party to another, all those issues were addressed. Having said that, I know we've run out of time. I'm sure we'll have another opportunity.
Okay, right. Thank you so much, Honorable, for making time with us. And we'll have to take a very quick commercial, short, quick break. And in doing that, we'll look at a story where former Assistant Director at the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, Mildred Kasase, and her son, Madiba Alex Zulu, actually pleaded not guilty before the courts of law as of yesterday to murdering their husband, Alex Zulu Kanyama Sr.
While the public is at pains following the death of a Lusaka woman alleged to have been murdered by her husband, who later took his life last week, a former assistant director officer at the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, Mildred Kasase, and her 20-year-old son, Madiba Alex Zulu Jr., accused of murdering her husband, Alex Zulu, has pleaded not guilty to the charge leveled against them. Clad in heels, a suit, while hiding her face, the calm-looking Mildred Kasase and her son appeared before Lusaka High Court Judge Irene Mbewe Monday, and the accused took plea after confirming that they understood the offense leveled against them. On 20th December 2023, the Lusaka Magistrate Court committed the accused to the High Court, as the offense hanging on the heads of the accused is only triable at the High Court. Ms. Kasase, 48, and her son Madiba, 20, are charged with murder contrary to Section 200 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the Laws of Zambia. Allegations are that Mildred Kasase and Madiba Zulu, between July 28th and 29th, 2023, in Lusaka, jointly and whilst acting together, murdered Alex Zulu Sr. In a statement last year, police spokesperson Ray Hamong explained that the deceased went out for business within Lusaka and came back home late while the wife had gone to visit her friend. Mr. Monga said later the wife called her son and instructed him to pick her up from the friend's house using the same vehicle the husband was using, but the vehicle was not available as her husband was still out, resulting in the wife getting upset and decided to use other means of transport going back home. It is alleged that upon arrival, the accused ganged up with her children, one aged 18 and Madiba Zulu aged 20, beating her late husband using a plank and other kitchen utensils. However, relatives of the deceased got suspicious of the circumstances surrounding the death of their relative and requested for a post-mortem to be conducted. Mr. Amonga in the statement further revealed that on August 8th, 2023, at around 12:30 hours, the deceased body was exhumed and a post-mortem was conducted at the graveyard, which disclosed that the deceased sustained a broken hand, leg, ribs and general body pains. Trial in this matter commences on Thursday, 18th April 2024. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we do have a gentleman, Mr. Lazarus Mwale from Alliance for Children Everywhere, which is an organization providing hope to children coming from broken homes or difficult circumstances. In support by transit homes are created to help children connect back with reality and family. The organization is seen as a pillar that connects and rebuilds. On 19th April, they celebrate their 25th anniversary. Together, we explore their journey of supporting vulnerable communities and spreading love to children in need. Now, joining us, like I said, is Mr. Lazarus Mwale, who is the director, response at this very organization. Good to see you and welcome.
Good morning, John.
Okay. Now, obviously, we are cruising. Now, over the past 25 years, what significant social impact has the Alliance for Children Everywhere had in Zambia?
Okay, so there has been so much social impact that we have significantly scored. I just wanted to include other aspects as well, like the emotional aspects, the cognitive aspects, as well as the physical aspects. Even in those areas, we have scored so much. So not only in the social aspect have we scored significantly, but we have scored even in those other aspects. We have seen in the past 25 years how we have helped over 25,000 children. Okay, we have actually assisted in different ways. We have educated over 18,000 children. We have saved over 7,000 children under the Family Preservation and Empowerment Program, where I want to see children grow up in families as opposed to being separated. We have also seen a good number of children being fostered or adopted in that realm. Over 300 children have been fostered or even adopted, and also we have also sensitized and reached out to so many families in terms of training of about 600 families. So significantly, we've seen that number of being of a good number to the communities.
Okay, now how has the organization evolved since its inception to better address the needs of the vulnerable children and families?
So when we were established, Joe, we were established to serve in crisis necessities. So we were established to serve as an orphanage. That was in 1998. So that's when our first house was established. That's the House of Moses that people normally know of. On the way, we also established 2 other child care facilities, like the Bill and Betty Brand Home, as well as the House of Martha. But with time, we realized that saving children under orphanage type of arrangement was not the best idea, as it has its own impact, which are very negative on the both social, the physical, the cognitive aspect, as well as even just the religious aspect. So we realized to go the family-based way. So we evolved in a certain way in terms of trying to promote family-based care, and we went ahead to try and see if government can be hoodwinked to go that direction, and we were lucky to discuss that today and report that government also appreciates what our vision and our mission has been.
Okay, so you have talked about government. How do you collaborate with government and other local communities?
You may be aware, Joe, that government is the sole custodian of every child in the country, and so we are just there to supplement their efforts. And so whatever we are doing, we must get the presence of government. And so today we are good also to report that we've been working very well with different entities from government, that is both the Minister of Community Development and Social Services, as well as the judiciary. So both wings have been very supportive to us and supporting our work.
Okay, tell us about the why does this event on the 19th of April mean? What does it mean to you?
So this event that's coming ahead of us, that's next week Friday, it's a very important event because we are actually celebrating the 25 years of meaningful, impactful partnerships with our partners, and we are looking at how we've saved that particular one child, how we have saved that particular 2 or 3 children. We will be talking and discussing how we have educated the 18,000 children. We will be talking and discussing how we have reintegrated back over 800 children maybe back to their biological families, as well as how we have sensitized and reached out to so many families in terms of foster care and adoption. So this is a very good platform for us, where we'll be also discussing some of the challenges that we have faced on the way in our journey.
Okay. Mr. Mwale, let me thank you most sincerely for coming through and for having this candid discussion with us right here on the Breakfast Show. We need to go, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for the time.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much to you, the viewer, the major stakeholder in all this. Thank you so much to the text messages and obviously your interaction with us on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV. Please, if you haven't yet liked it, like it, share it, and be sure to leave a comment. Mr. Livingstone, thank you so much for that comment, and Mr. Kingsley Machila as well. Just to name a few, thank you so much for your comments. I have been your host, Josh Mata is my name, on behalf of my director, Mr. Isaac Chifita, and of course, my co-presenter, my guy, Nelson Zulu. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Keep it Camnet. Good morning.